Hey, we are live on the Austin Men's Development Board, and we are talking about social dynamics, how to build connections, but with a very specific purpose. There's a couple things when it comes to social dynamics and connecting with people. One, how can we do it with being a good man? And in this overall process, like evolving to be a great man, to experience all the things we want from women, all the things that we want from society and socializing and having that sort of like achievement in our life without totally wrecking our lives, but also doing it in a way where we can customize it towards ourselves and do it in a way where it's doable, right? So it's easy to do. We can get a result right away. So I want you to follow along with this. If it's too much, it's too much. I understand. You can get something like Instant Connection, which will help you find out like what this is all about. That's free on the Sexual Life website. And man, let's get started. So we have a guy on the Rebuild Challenge call, which is happening right now. It's Friday. Man, it's the 24th of July. It's my friend's birthday, and it's about to be a celebration for me coming up too. So this is interesting because this young man, he's in his early 20s. He's coming of age. This is one of those things that's so important for every guy. You know, and I really want to speak to this because when you're young and you're in any place in your 20s, this could even go into your 30s, but you're going to feel like you're not making headway in your life. You're going to feel like you need these challenges to happen in your life. You're going to feel like, man, I need to push harder. And these are some of the best parts about being a younger man, is because that's going to push you in the right directions. Now, looking back on that with myself, is like, man, why did I get so upset with myself at this? Like, why did I bog myself down with these things? Because it really was a waste of time. But that's not true, right? It wasn't a waste of time. It pushed me in certain directions. That sort of doubt gave meaning and importance to later things. But when it came down to it, it was so important for me to be able to, to find real deep meaning in those sacrifices that I made. You know, and this is a big topic of what we're talking about. I know you guys want to know about social dynamics. Sorry, I had to just give that caveat because it's such a big struggle for younger men. And you're right where you're supposed to be. You need to be within a group to process all this. It's really important, right? No rite of passage in any culture is done alone. There's always elders around in it. So just remember that. So here's the situation. He's young. He's about to leave a small community, you know, small town, big hell. Everybody knows you. He's about to leave that to go to a bigger community. And he's done that a few times in his life, just with college and whatnot. But he's going away from his hometown, which is small. And he knows everybody and has experiences. But he's so used to only having superficial conversations. Fairly social dude, so not a lot of social anxiety here, okay? And he wants to be able to work these social dynamics in a way where he can build deeper connections to have meaning that give him the faith and the ability to talk to random people or more high pressure situations where he's going to share a piece of himself. So this is a perfect example. We're going to go, and if you watch the Instant Connection course, we're going to find the general here. And the general is that he's saying goodbye to people that he knows, and he has memories that have meaning with people that he knows. And these are people that he already knows. So when we're talking about practicing social dynamics, we actually want to practice social dynamics with zero pressure. Okay. And you might be going like, but what about the hot chicks? How am I going to be the Lord of the world? And all this sort of stuff that we hear in men's development and what people are selling you. That's not the right way to learn. Okay. That's the way that your pain is telling you to learn. That's the way that your desperation is telling you to learn. But if you empower your desperation too much, it's going to wreck everything. Right. And men's development has really proven that is a phenomenon, whether you know that or not. But for me, and doing it for like 15 years at this point, that's obvious. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to take the pressure out of it, which is great, right? With his situation, he needs to be able to talk to people that he knows, but get to a deep place really quick. So this is super awesome. These are all like techniques that are mapped out. There's a lot of videos on them. You could go on YouTube and look for them, or you could sign up for TSL online or whatever. But he's going to say hi to somebody that he knows. Man, woman, child, doesn't matter. Okay, and remember the goal is to feel comfortable, to get a deep connection, not have a superficial situation, and revolve around the general topic of that, hey, I'm going to leave and I'm going to see you again, and what about this memory? So let's say he sees Bob or whatever, and he's like, hey, what's up, Bob? You know, blah, 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 blah. Man, I'm just getting ready to move back to wherever, you know, yada, yada, yada. Then he's going to interrupt the conversation, right? So he already knows how to talk to Bob. The opener doesn't matter. He's going to do a technique called by the way, right? And so this is something that comes out of TS Online. And don't read into this technique too much. It's just something to transition very quickly. But he's going to go, man, by the way, or I was thinking, or you know what? This just popped into my head. Okay. So you're going to have to rehearse that, right? And practice that a little bit, maybe in front of the mirror. Every good actor does that. You say, man, you know what? By the way, do you remember that time when I first met you? You're just going to access whatever memory that is for you. Super easy. Now, you might be going like, man, there's all these moving parts. Anybody watching this video, if you want to do this with anybody that you know, you can and you should, because you already know these memories with people. It's great. Or it could be like, I go down to whatever the cafe down the street and I know one of the workers there and I may not know them well, but I could be like, you know what? By the way, I've always thought this. Because the first time I came in here, I was like, man, that girl has some crazy hair and it's awesome. I can do that, right? I can start to talk about a memory and an experience that I had with that person. But let's say I know them really well. And I could say like, man, by the way, the first time I ever saw you, I had like the worst first impression. That's actually real for somebody that I'm really good friends with, right? So it's like, I can bring that up as a topic to think about, talk about, and so on, right? Now, all I want you to do is so what's important about when we get into deep conversations, a deep conversation isn't that somebody shares something deep with you. It isn't something that you share something deep with them. Those could all be components of it, and most likely it will be. But a deep conversation is defined that we care about each other. They care about what I say. I care about what they say. So I want that phenomenon to happen. It can happen really quick. And this is what's going to make the shift for you in terms of social dynamics. If you can get that quicker, you're going to be like solid. So then we say, like, let's say it is somebody we know. So I talked to this one lady that I know, really good friends with her. First time I met her, it was like, man, this chick's a loser. Jesus Christ. And she kind of was, but that was a long time ago. It was like 12 years ago or something. So, I could say to her, I say, you know what, man, it's crazy. Like, I got to bring this up. That's my, by the way, I got to bring this up. But when I first saw you, like I didn't know you. I'm like, man, who's this girl? Man, and I saw you with like this dude. And I was like, man, you are like trash. Jesus Christ. And now it's weird because we're like really good friends. So I could bring that up as the story, right? And all I care about in this is for a moment, for the technique. Right? For the relationship with her, there's more, right? But for the technique, it's like, I want her to care about this kind of memory that I'm talking about, this experience that I'm talking about. And then for me to care about her response. If I achieve that's how I'm starting to learn the goal of this social dynamic. So I said, man, you were with this dude. And I was like, Jesus, God. And then I didn't talk to you forever. And then we became like really good friends. And it just makes me think like some of the best friends in my life that I've ever had, I never had a good first impression of them, which is actually very true for a lot of people. It's kind of like a cold read thing if you ever, but it's true for so many people. It's like, it's a big phenomenon. And then I'm just going to ask her a question, right? I'm just going to ask her a question of like, so man, what's the contrast with your first impression of me? And then like, how you know me now or something like that, right? So that's a great, way to elicit that sort of response about caring for one another or showing that in a conversation. And then I'm going to end it. So there's not many moving parts in this, right? And it's quick. And you should get a deeper level of conversation than you normally get with somebody, with people that you already know in practicing this social dynamic. So we're just going, by the way, or like, man, I wanted to bring this up or whatever. So we're just doing by the way. We're bringing up the memory of maybe the first time I met them or a memory that's important that I had with them, what I thought, what that experience was, which you already know. I mean, I know like this isn't, the sequence is cookie cutter, but this part you have to be creative about knowing it. And here's what's great is when you get good at it, you'll just be able to think of this stuff on the fly. Like when you see somebody that you've met or had an experience with. And then you're going to ask them about their experience with that. and maybe their relation to it, which might be what was your first impression, or what did you think, or how do you feel about that? Or isn't it funny? You could just say, isn't it funny that we had that? That was cool, right? Or something like that. And then we're going to end it. And we're just going to say, man, have a good day. I'm off to wherever. I'll see you later. I'll see you in a couple months. Like that right there, I can guarantee you, if you do it with passable delivery, like you might mess up the sequence, but if you do that with a passable delivery, passable understanding of the social dynamic, it's going to bring out a part of, I don't know, probably about half the people you talk to, maybe a little bit less, maybe a third, right? Of where they're just going to be like, man, that's so crazy, da, da, da. And they're going to want to talk to you more, and they're going to start leading the conversation to where they want to. And that is a pretty awesome goal. So take that and run with it. Real quick social dynamic sequence for somebody who already knows, like a lot of people wanting to have more, they're fairly social in an environment, small town, and are able to have a deeper conversation quickly with it so you can gain some confidence in it. Hopefully that helped. Part 2 is coming up, because part 2 is about how do we connect with people using our values with new strangers, but almost the same thing. In fact, we could follow the same sequence. All right, watch that one.